I'm standing in a parking lot right now, looking at a row of cars that all used to be mine at some point. And I still can't believe this started with just one beat-up car I didn't even fully trust myself to rent out. Because right now, this looks like a small fleet. But back then, it was just a gamble. Let me rewind. I wasn't some business guy. I wasn't rich. I was just broke enough to start thinking weird. Like, how do I make money from what I already have? And the only thing I had was one car. Nothing special, not luxury, not new, just a normal car sitting there doing nothing most of the time. And one day I had this thought. If it's just sitting there, why not let it make money? It sounded dumb at first, like one of those ideas people joke about and never actually do. But I couldn't shake it, so I posted it online. Simple listing. Car available for rent. No big plan, no insurance strategy, no business structure. Just me testing something I didn't fully understand yet. And I remember thinking, worst case, nobody replies. But then, someone did. The first message came way faster than I expected, like same day fast. A guy asking if the car was still available and how much for a couple days. And I just stared at my phone like, wait, people actually do this? Because in my head, nobody would trust a random person renting out a personal car. But apparently they do. We met the next day. I was low-key nervous the whole time. Handing over your only car to a stranger hits different when that car is basically your only asset. I kept overthinking everything. What if they damage it? What if they don't bring it back? What if I just made a stupid decision? But I still did it. Keys handed over. And just like that, I had no control anymore. For the next 24 hours, I kept checking my phone nonstop. Every notification felt important. Every silence felt suspicious. And then finally, I get a message. Car is great, thanks. That's it. No drama, no issues, just normal. And when I got the car back, it was clean. No problems, no stress. But the real shock wasn't that it worked. It was that it was easy. Like, way easier than I expected. And that's when the idea hit me. If this worked once, why wouldn't it work again?
That's when I started looking at my car differently. Not as something I used, but as something I could deploy. And once that thought gets in your head, it doesn't really leave. So I did it again. Second rental, then a third. Same process, same nervous feeling every time I handed over the keys, but also the same result. Easy money. Nothing crazy at first, but consistent. And consistency is what got me hooked. Because I realized something important. The car wasn't just sitting there costing me nothing, it was actually an idle asset, a money-making machine I just wasn't using yet. So I started getting more serious. I cleaned it properly between rentals, took better photos, wrote clearer listings, responded faster to messages. And suddenly, I wasn't just renting my car, I was running a tiny service. But here's the part that changed everything. One of my renters asked me a simple question before returning the car. Do you have another one? At first, I laughed it off like, nah, it's just mine. But that question stayed with me. Because if people were willing to rent one car, then logically, they'd rent more. And that's when the idea shifted from side thing to something way bigger. A system. Not just a car. A fleet. I just didn't know yet how fast it would actually grow.
That fleet idea sounded crazy at first. Like, who am I to even think about that? I only had one car. But the more I ran rentals, the more I started seeing the math behind it. One car meant limited income. 2 cars meant double the cycles. 3 cars? Now it starts becoming real money. So instead of just thinking about renting, I started thinking about expansion. And I did something risky. I took almost everything I earned from the first rentals and started looking for another car. Not something fancy, just something cheap, reliable enough, and rentable. When I finally found one, I hesitated, because this wasn't like before. Before, I was testing. Now I was scaling. Different level of pressure. But I still bought it. And that moment changed everything. Because suddenly, I wasn't dependent on a single asset anymore. I had 2. And 2 changes your mindset instantly. Now I had scheduling. maintenance between rentals, pricing decisions based on demand. It wasn't random anymore. It was structured. And something weird started happening too. People began asking for longer rentals, then repeat bookings, then referrals. I wasn't even advertising that much anymore. It was just moving. And the more it moved, the more I realized this wasn't a side hustle anymore. It was starting to behave like a real business. And I still hadn't fully stepped into it yet.
That's when things started getting messy. In a good way, because 2 cars turned into a schedule I couldn't casually manage anymore. I had bookings overlapping, messages coming in at random hours, and people trying to reserve dates like it was a real rental company. Except it wasn't supposed to be one yet. It was just me, trying to keep up. So, I brought in help. At first, it was just a friend. Nothing official. I showed him how I handled check-ins, how I prepared the cars, what I checked after each return. Not complicated stuff, just consistency. And that changed the pace instantly. Now we weren't limited by one person's time. We were splitting the workload. And that's when I noticed something important. The business wasn't really about cars. It was about availability. If a car was free, it was money waiting. If it was busy, it was already working for me. So I started optimizing everything. Turnaround time, cleaning process, pricing depending on demand. I even started tracking which days got the most bookings. And once I had that data, I stopped guessing. I started planning. That's when I bought the 3rd car. Not emotionally, not randomly, strategically. And for the first time, I wasn't thinking, I rent cars. I was thinking, I manage assets that generate income.
By the time I hit 3 cars, everything started feeling different. Not harder exactly, just more real. Because now I couldn't afford chaos anymore. One mistake with scheduling, one delayed return, one car not ready on time, and the whole system starts falling apart. So I had to get serious about structure. I made rules, strict ones. No last-minute bookings without confirmation. No handing over keys without full inspection. Every return had to be checked the same way, every single time. At first, my friend thought I was overdoing it, like I was turning something simple into something complicated. But then we started seeing the difference. Less damage, fewer misunderstandings, faster turnover, more bookings. And that's when it clicked for both of us. Structure wasn't slowing us down. It was allowing us to grow. Because now we weren't reacting to problems. We were preventing them. And once that foundation was stable, I stopped thinking small again. I started looking at what limited us. And the answer was obvious. Cars. We didn't have enough. Demand was growing faster than supply. People were asking if we had anything available when everything was already booked. That's a good problem, a dangerous one too, because it means opportunity is sitting there, waiting. So I made the next move. I reinvested again, bought another car, then started thinking about something bigger than just adding one at a time. I started thinking, what if this doesn't stay small? And that thought didn't leave my head.
That question became the turning point. Because once I stopped thinking extra income and started thinking system, everything accelerated. We weren't just renting cars anymore. We were managing availability like inventory. Every car had a schedule, a purpose, a role in the rotation. If one came back, it was already planned where it would go next. No idle time, no wasted days. And that alone changed everything. But the real shift wasn't the cars, it was the mindset. I stopped asking, how do I get more bookings? And started asking, how do I make sure I never run out of cars available when people want them? That's when scaling made sense. Not emotionally, mathematically. So I reinvested harder. Every profit cycle went back into another vehicle. And each new car didn't just add income, it multiplied the system. Because now everything was interconnected. More cars meant more bookings. More bookings meant more cash flow. More cash flow meant faster expansion. And before I even realized it, I wasn't just renting my car anymore. I was running a fleet. A small one at first, sure, but growing fast enough that people started treating it like a real service. And one day, I looked around at everything we built, and it hit me. This didn't start with a business plan. It started with one idle car and a simple question. What if it just made money while I'm not using it? And somehow,
That question turned into a system, and that system turned into something I never expected to build.
Before you go, hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories just like this one. See you in the next story.